Hello and welcome. I am Terry Ikumi. This is the Gavel. The entire country is elated about the release of over 300 Kankara schoolboys on the 17th of December, after they were abducted about a week earlier. In reacting, President Muhammadu Buhari praised the military and reiterated his confidence in them.
The law enforcement agencies, in this case especially the military, the army, and the governor worked extremely hard. And as soon as they got them, the governor rang me and informed me. And I congratulated him and the army that organized the operation and so on. The military is well trained. I think they are sufficiently motivated. The governor, I'm very impressed with the governor. He has been, up and doing since it happened. And I congratulated him that the children have been successfully recovered.
Now, before the release, here's how the National Assembly reacted to the abduction of the boys.
Mr. President, bring back our boys.
Another day, another motion in the Senate on insecurity in the country. The abduction of more than 300 schoolboys from Government Science Secondary School, Kankara, Katsina State, on Friday, 11th December 2020, was raised in the Senate on Tuesday.
That media reports about this deadly incident indicate that the attackers stormed the school premises and engaged government security agents in a fierce gun battle, forcing hundreds of students to flee and hide in the surrounding forest, while others were reportedly abducted by gunmen.
About 2 weeks ago, the Senate debated the gruesome killing of rice farmers in Zabamari, Borno State, and asked President Buhari to sack the service chiefs. President Buhari is yet to yield to this demand by Parliament, and there appears to be a sense of helplessness by these senators.
Since Friday, over 300 children have been moved. Then we have security people who are just collecting money and building big houses in Abuja. And then we say that we can only pay lip service. And then we say we are representing the people who are not representing them.
The worst part of this situation is that nobody is talking to us. We're just there as if we're talking rubbish. 333 boys. That's the future of Nigeria. That's the entire two chambers put together.
As senators lamented the abduction of schoolboys in Kankara, Senator Abubakar Kyari drew the attention of lawmakers to yet another terrorist attack.
A similar senseless killing had occurred on Saturday, the 12th December 2020 in Tumor town of Difa region in Niger Republic, where a huge population of refugees from Abadam local government area of Borno State reside.
Irked by President Buhari's unwillingness to implement previous resolutions on insecurity, lawmakers discarded their recommendation to invite the service chiefs, the Inspector General of Police, and Director General of the Department of State Service. On Thursday, the 18th of December, the Kankara boys were returned unharmed by the abductors, despite an earlier video by Boko Haram on the same day showing the boys pleading to be rescued. Meanwhile, in the House of Representatives, following the attacks on schools across the country, lawmakers are asking the federal government to urgently implement the Safe School Declaration and to protect children and teachers from attacks in schools and ensure that the education continues without hindrance at all times. Lawmakers also want the federal government to expedite action on the safe return of all abducted school children, from the incidents of Chibok to the most recent.
Cognizant that schools must remain safe places and the federal government must ensure that they are free from conflicts and violence. Informed that in March 2019, the federal government ratified the Safe Schools Declaration to support the protection of students, teachers, and schools from attacks during times of any kind of armed conflict. Resolves to call on the federal government to review the security architecture of the country because of the seeming demonstration of diminishing returns. Also called on the federal government to expedite action on the safe return of all abducted school children from the incident of Chibok to the most recent one at Ankara town in Katsina State.
There was a time in Metele when the commander texted me a message that Boko Haram are coming to attack them. They call Air Force to reinforce them. Air Force tell them that, Mr. Army, we have to take command from Abuja. That is our flight, we can use our jet. Lack of that, they come and kill almost 300 officers there, cutted away all the arms, which is one of the most embarrassed to the Nigerian army in the history of Nigeria, that killing the whole unit. Because of why? If Air Force jet can reach that place in 15 minutes to save our people. But they didn't come because there is no synergy.
Meanwhile, the PDP caucus of the House of Representatives has threatened to go to court over the statements of the Auditor General that the House overstepped its bounds by inviting the president. The caucus is insisting on the resignation of the president over the insecurity in the country. They made this known during the briefing with the House of Representatives press corps.
The Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami, Leonard Silk, clearly erred in law and displayed this administration's disregard for the sanctity of our nation's constitution when he erroneously, but of course deliberately, opined that the National Assembly lacks the power to invite the president to speak on cogent security matters dear to the hearts of over 200 million citizens, contrary to the provisions of sections 88 and 89 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, which gave the National Assembly the power.
The House of Representatives is asking the Ministry of Communications to extend the period for registration of SIM cards with national identification numbers to 10 weeks instead of 2, as announced by the ministry. This, according to the House, is to allow enough time for Nigerians to comply. Also, the House is asking the Minister of State for Labour, Festus Keyamo, to stay action on the planned January 2021 implementation of the Special Public Works Program of the federal government until a comprehensive list of beneficiaries from the Nigerian Directorate of Employment is available. The House is also condemning the removal of the Director General of the National Directorate of Employment and calling for his immediate reinstatement. It would seem that the rift between the Minister of State for Labour, Festus Keyamo, and the National Assembly over the Special Public Works Program of the federal government, scheduled to commence on the 5th of January 2021, is far from over. Mr. Keyamo and members of the National Assembly have since August openly disagreed on who should implement the program, which seeks to create 774,000 jobs in all local governments of the Federation. Despite the intervention of the President directing the minister to proceed with the program, the House of Representatives is insisting that it should be put on hold.
Greatly concerned that most Nigerians that have submitted their names to the ND offices in their respective states have been unjustly excluded from this program. The House therefore resolved to, 1, mandate the Minister of State for Labour to stop with immediate effect all processes leading to the commencement of the program on January 5, 2021 until the list of beneficiaries compiled by the ND in each state is used as a basis of selection. Number 2, mandate the Minister of Finance not to release funds for this program until all issues that are related to non-compliance to due process are resolved. Number 3, mandate the committees on labor and productivity and legislative compliance to ensure compliance with prayers 1 and 2 above and report to the House in the next 1 week.
Well, I think we need to refer this to Honorable Woodill's committee because these are very important, salient points. An otherwise commendable, very good, ambitious program by Mr. President. We should not allow it to be tainted in any way. It's a great program, and we must make sure that it succeeds. So I'll just put the question, and we'll refer to Honorable Woody to look at it comprehensively and the issues that underlie it, because our constituents will hold us responsible.
And just like the Senate, the House disagrees with the President on the removal of the Director General of the National Directorate of Employment, who had publicly insisted that his agency, by law, should implement the program.
The removal of the DG, who seems to be following the due process in the execution of this project. So we condemn in total the removal of the DG and call for his immediate reinstatement.
A man has stood up for the right thing to be done. The Director General of National Directorate of Employment. Mr. Speaker, I think when we begin to see things like this come, we have to brief Mr. President beforehand, before Mr. President is being ill-advised to take a decision that will make for the ill will of this government, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we have all come from far and wide to talk about bipartisan approach to make Mr. President to succeed. The Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Section 16, Mr. Speaker, most especially, sir, Section 16, sub 1, it talks about B, that the objectives and ideals of the government shall be control the national economy in such a manner as to secure the maximum welfare, freedom, and happiness of every citizen on the basis of social justice. The DG of NDE stood for what is right. And I believe that this House owes Mr. President the right position to advise Mr. President that the decision taken to sack the DG was by ill advice.
Commendable, very good, ambitious program by Mr. President. We should not allow it to be tainted in any way.
Meanwhile, the House of Representatives is asking the Ministry of Communications to extend the 31st December deadline issued to SIM card owners to submit their national identification numbers to their network providers or risk being blocked. The 2 weeks ultimatum issued by the ministry has been generating reactions from Nigerians.
I still have one number that is not registered till today. And I think for security purpose, I think it's a welcome idea.
Question is, how many offices of NIMSI are in Abuja? Right here in Abuja, I can point to 3 or 4, 5 places where you can do SIM registration. And with COVID-19, if people get into panic and begin to rush into these centers, there could be a resurgence and even an increase in infections.
The attention of lawmakers was drawn to the matter in a motion of urgent public importance by the minority leader, who insisted that the intention may be good, but not the timing.
Some members brought out their phone where people called them or sent tests, and in trying to identify who is the true caller, it's difficult because you can go to anywhere on the road and buy SIM card without it being registered. I think rising from that, NCC was mandated that they should try as much as possible to ensure that all the service providers get all the SIM cards registered. And to start it is, first of all, to register with National Identity Card Management. But we did not envisage, Mr. Speaker, that having given that suggestion, that they will now come and say, okay, we are limiting this process to only 2 weeks.
The contributions that followed also suggested the same. For security reasons, the intention, yes, but more time is needed.
Service providers will not be in undue competition to outsmart each other by giving now SIM card to every Tom, Dick, and Harry. A situation whereby kidnappers and other scrupulous elements in the nation will kidnap people and they will be transacting ransom via telecommunication, and then the security agents will not be able to track them.
It will be good that we give a timeline, something like after the Christmas. That should end on 28th February 2021.
Many Nigerians are worried about the numerous data collected for various purposes, such as bank registration, voter registration, SIM card registration, driver's license registration, national identity card, and international passport registration, which do not seem to be harmonized. They also worry that the process needed to acquire the national identification number is not an easy one. Welcome back to the Gavel. Let's run through some other issues at the National Assembly within the week under review.
Some persons living with disabilities from the Niger Delta region on Thursday stormed the National Assembly complex in Abuja to protest neglect by federal lawmakers representing them in the federal legislature. The aggrieved protesters, under the banner of Great Minds Foundation of People Living with Deformities in the Niger Delta, forced themselves inside the National Assembly complex despite resistance by security operatives at the National Assembly gate. The spokesperson of the group, Amos Etim, said they arrived at the National Assembly from various states of the Niger Delta to demand their rights from their representatives. The deputy whip of the Senate, Senator Aliyu Abdullahi, who led other lawmakers to meet with the protesters, appealed for calm, saying their grievances will be addressed.
In our communities, when they come, we don't assess them. Now we came all the way from Niger Delta to this place, only to meet with them. We gave them a proposal for World Disability Day celebration and Christmas package. And we do a copy to all the Niger Delta senators, which they recognize it. And they refuse to attend to us. We came here today telling them they should hold a meeting. All they do is to send their security men against us, because they know we cannot do anything.
We in the Senate, and in fact in the House, so let me say the National Assembly generally, even in our legislative agenda, we respect people who are in your condition. And that's why even the commission that is meant to solve your problems, we didn't give up until the executive signs it. And just last week, the board was approved by the Senate.
The Senate has passed through second reading a bill it hopes will address the problem of the high maternal and perinatal mortality rates in the country.
Sadly, in Nigeria,
the bill, which was sponsored by the chairman, Senate Committee on Health, proposes to introduce a surveillance system to track maternal mortalities in the country and identify the direct and indirect factors responsible for the deaths. The chairman of the committee believes that this data on maternal and perinatal deaths would be used to make recommendations on how to address the problem.
maternal and perinatal death surveillance and response process is a form of continuous surveillance, which is the monitoring, that links the health information system and quality improvement process from the local to national level. And this includes routine identification of all maternal and perinatal deaths, notification and reporting, quantification, determination of causes, and the use of this information to respond with action for better outcome.
The House of Representatives has rejected a bill seeking to put maximum age limit for aspirants of certain political offices.
Mr. Speaker, but one thing I want...
The sponsor of the bill, Representative Bede Eke, who pleaded with his colleagues to allow the bill scaled through second reading, reminded them that the bill is an extension of a not-too-young-to-run bill and the NSAS protest. He was repeatedly interrupted by his colleagues who were openly opposed to the bill, stating that it is discriminatory and inconsistent with Section 42 of the 1999 Constitution. The lawmaker was eventually prevailed upon by his colleagues to withdraw the bill.
Mr. Speaker, this bill is a buffer to the Not Too Young to Rule Act, which the 8th Assembly passed, and Nigerians were overwhelmed and celebrated us for passing that bill. Mr. Speaker, you cannot talk about Not Too Young to Rule Act when the aging politicians still occupy the spaces for these youths to come on board. Mr. Speaker, this bill...
Continue. Why are you distracted? Continue.
Mr. Speaker, hey, please, are you too old to be here?
The House of Representatives is intervening in the ongoing recruitment exercise into the Nigeria Security and Defense Corps and the Nigeria Immigration Service.
Worried that the state JAM computer-based aptitude test, aside from those applicants who may have attempted participating in the same without the basic skills for operation of a computer and who are doomed to fail the exam as a result, has occasioned a denial of opportunity for thousands of Nigerians who are not computer literate. Resolved to direct the Civil Defense Correctional Fire and Immigration Board, the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps, and the Nigeria Immigration Service to immediately suspend and or cancel the computer-based aptitude test in the ongoing recruitment exercise for being discriminatory and contrary to the enshrined principles of fairness and social justice.
The attention of the House was also drawn to the gruesome attack by unknown gunmen in Oyo State.
The House also notes that preliminary investigations by the Nigerian Police Force revealed that the deceased and his farm manager were violently attacked by 4 gunmen at about 5 p.m. on Friday, 11 December 2020, whilst returning home from his farm. The House resolves to also urge the Inspector General of Police to review the security architecture of Ibarapa Central, Ibarapa North Federal Constituency, Oyo State, and indeed Nigeria as a whole, with a view to stemming a recurrence of similar incidents.
And finally, here's a report on the 2-day public hearing of the House Committee on Insurance to repeal the old Insurance Act and enact a new one. The House of Representatives Committee on Insurance and Actuarial Matters held a 2-day public hearing on Monday and Tuesday on a bill to repeal the Insurance Act 2004 and enact the Insurance Act 2020. The bill, when passed, is expected to sanitize the insurance sector and rid it of persons practicing without a license.
A robust insurance system is a necessary requirement for the efficient distribution and effective management of risk in a productive economy. Unfortunately, the insurance role in our national economy too often falls short of its potential. This is both a problem of laws and a problem of culture.
Section 8 of Insurance Act 2003 seems grossly inefficient and indeed incapable of addressing the dispute settlement needs of the emerging insurance sector. At this time, the insurance regulatory personnel requires structured training to be effective with work of regulation and supervision of the insurance sector in Nigeria, matching their counterparts in other jurisdictions. This underscores the need for a proper regulatory academy that is devoted to training and retraining regulatory and supervisory officers, as the case with CBN and NDIC.
Various submissions by stakeholders were made on observations and general comments on the legislative policy of the bill.
I want to appreciate the fact that the committee is doing a good work, because insurance policies and insurance matters are very key to every individual in Nigeria. We are also in support of this bill. FRSC is in support of the bill as a veritable tool for charting a course for insurance structure in Nigeria.
Part 11 of Section 64 of that Act states that 0.25% of the net accruable premium should be paid to the firefighting institutions. 0.25% does not address the funding challenges we have in the fire services. That includes the states. We were asking for a review, upward review from 0.25% to 2.5%.
For the chairman of the committee, insurance matters must be prioritized by the government as it touches on every Nigerian.
The insurance industry is an industry every person in Nigeria should work very hard, making sure that it will function effectively and efficiently. The cash and carry approach we have in our system, from health to transport to oil and gas, in all the sectors, is not helping our economy in any way. But if we pay a little today and look forward to achieving and deriving more tomorrow in case of any incident, it will help us a lot.
Well, the National Assembly has scheduled Monday, the 21st, which is not a usual plenary day, for the budget to be passed before embarking on the Christmas break. The 9th Assembly is resolute on continuing with the January to December budget cycle, which it started last year. In a related development, both chambers passed a bill to extend the capital budget implementation period of the 2020 Appropriation Act on the request of the Minister of Finance, who stated that MDAs had received over 70% of their capital releases but have been unable to properly utilize them due to the COVID-19 pandemic and other factors. Well, that's it on the Gavel. Thanks for watching. I am Terry Ikumi. Goodbye.